realize that as of this filming, it has been 10 years since the Flaming Lips album Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots descended from the embryonic fluids of space and onto our world? I bet some of you are feeling really old right now. I know I am. Is that a gray hair? To fully appreciate this album, though, you have to send your brain back in time to the year 2002 so you can understand the musical landscape of the era. The turn of the millennium. What a terrible time for rock. Emo was still a genre and not a punchline. Nu metal had yet to fade into the background, and garage rock was seeing a short resurgence in acts like the Vines, the Hives, and the Strokes, but nothing much came of it. On the other hand, Interpol's Turn on the Bright Lights and Wilco's Yankee Hotel Foxtrot showed promise of things to come in the fickle fucking world of alt-rock. But it wouldn't be until Franz Ferdinand in 2004 that we got a solid sense of direction. So if there was any year to claim that music was dead without sounding like a whiny spazoid, it was 2002. Creativity and originality just seemed to be in recession. Let's put it this way, Maroon 5 was the talk of the town. But aside from the aforementioned Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, one other album descended from the stars to vaporize mediocrity. Yoshimi. After more than a decade of recording and touring, the Flaming Lips barely broke onto the scene with their 1999 album, The Stop Bulletin. Music critics the world over creamed their skinny jeans. They'd never heard anything like it.
Hey, is that the Flaming Lips?
Well, it's not Michael Bolton.
That's for sure.
Prior to this was their avant-garde album, Fareed Zakaria, however you say it. This album required listeners to play 4 discs simultaneously, all culminating in a galactic orchestra orbiting the distant reaches of the known universe. This was a turning point for the band. What had started as a psychedelic alt-rock group from OKC had grown into an entity of its own design. It's like they got on the Magical Mystery Tour and never got off. The Stop Bulletin subsequently cemented their status as psych stars. Oh, and they once conducted a symphony of car radios. If it's not obvious by now, the Flaming Lips are mad geniuses. And I discovered them by chance. Back in the futuristic world of 2002, you didn't have Spotify or iTunes, or hell, even YouTube. For your music pleasure, you could always browse any number of primitive music blogs, but considering the molasses speed of the internet back then, it was a real hassle. Instead, many of us still frequented the record store. The record store. The smell of vinyl, the moth-eaten tapestries, the guy standing behind the counter just waiting for 420. Some record stores had listening stations where you could sample the music before you bought it, kinda like you'd sample little tiny sausages at the grocery store. And that's where I found this one. As you can imagine, it's the cover art that caught my eye. Let's look at this cover for a moment. Designed by the band's go-to graphic artist, George Salisbury, the cover art depicts a schoolgirl combating a glass-eyed robot in an industrial landscape. Japanese text at the top gives you the impression that this is some kind of manga. In fact, when I first saw this, I thought it was an anime movie soundtrack or something. Remember, this is back in the day when anime was an exquisite rarity, restricted to Toonami and Midnight Block on the Sci-Fi channel. And this looked fucking amazing. So I gave it a listen. Though it wasn't what I expected, I still enjoyed it and purchased it. The magic of the record store. You can't get that experience with MP3s. Can't imagine why these went out of stock. The album starts with Fight Test, an easygoing tune with a back-breaking beat that sets the tone of the whole collection. Lead singer Wayne Coyne delves into what sounds like a personal story about a spat between 2 dudes while also reflecting on the larger question of why we fight. We get a sense of the dualistic nature of this album, grounded in reality but swept away into a trans-dimensional void where existentialist thoughts exist independently. But all in all, this album remains within the human experience. Except for the next track. It's about a robot. This track is titled One More Robot / Sympathy 3021. Now you know it's a sci-fi theme because it's got all those random numbers at the end. Need to exaggerate the science-y fictioniness of your work. Cram a bunch of numbers into the title. Hell, I used to think the Bible was a sci-fi epic because every quotation from the thing has numbers at the end. John 3:16. Is John a robot? Does he have feelings? Oh hell, one of the books is just called Numbers. That's cheating. Anyways, track 2 is about a robot in the process of developing emotions. Now that's an image that really complements this music. One more robot learns to feel. Coyne's voice is high and angelic, The guitar work is mostly soft and subtle with a droning texture of a chill wave, but the drum work is all crunchy and harsh with the clickety-clackety clockwork percussion of a drum machine. Ah, a machine. A mechanical rhythm with a docile melody. So the whole album comes together like a robot with sympathy. Speaking of robots, next is the title track.
The name is Yoshimi.
Simply put, this is a song about a girl fighting robots. Awesome. Again, we've got the melodic acoustic guitar and dreamy coin voice set over the buzzy drum work and weirdo techno textures. Before I go on, I have to point out that the Flaming Lips deny this is a concept album. Instead, it's just an album with reoccurring themes. Those themes largely pertaining to giant robots. With that in mind, here is Yoshimi Battles of Pink Robots Part 2. The sequel's never as good as the original. Whereas Part 1 is a narrative about a girl fighting robots, Part 2 is the battle between the girl and the robots. In electrofunk hell, apparently. There's just so many things going on here. The beat is insane, it got those weird techno-y textures that sound like an old man's digestive tract, and there's people chattering in the background, screaming and dying. The whole thing reeks of studio post-production. And I kinda like it. It's weird, it's different, it tells a story. You know, for a non-concept album, this album sure has a lot of concept to it. And by the way, the girl's voice is provided by musician Yoshimi Pee-wee. So I think we know who Yoshimi is. But who are the pink robots? Well, now that I'm all excited from that battle, what's next?
What is love? What is hate?
A cooldown song with soft vocals, acoustic guitar, and a string section. Yeah, it's gonna be the tone for the rest of the album. Some people have panned this record for being too morose. It's like we're at a wake trying to hold a conversation with a widow. But once you adjust to the tone, it makes for a pleasurable listen, equal parts psychedelic and solemn. Now somebody passed the bong. And the Zoloft. In this track, we really get a taste of the existentialist mood at play here. Coin ponders the futility of love, and if it even matters in the cold expanse of the universe, going so far as calling the ambiguity between love and hate to be a calculations error. It's as though the brain is just a machine incapable of understanding the concept of love. And calculators just can't compute love. I mean, mine just constantly wants boobs.
I was waiting on
Ego tripping at the gates of hell. That is the name of this song, and it is an awesome concept for a non-conceptual album, of course. This is one of the best tracks on the disc. It's got a good sound, great melody, and poignant lyrics about wasting your whole life waiting for something when so many other great things pass you by. Now look at me, I know nothing about the ego. Or tripping. A lot of these songs seem to revolve around death, and not even like robot death, but like normal people death. Kind of odd for an album called Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. Unless the robots are some kind of metaphor for something I'm just completely not aware of. Well, according to Wayne Coyne, the robots represent cancer. That can't be.
She's gotta be strong to fight them. So she's taking lots of vitamins.
Yeah, that does work. The album's central theme seems to be life and death, centered around the story of a girl named Yoshimi, but apparently not the actual Yoshimi, overcoming cancer. These songs complement that tale by streaming philosophical ponderings and melancholy music. Well, melancholy by the Flaming Lips standards. I mean, they still have all that techno-electro stuff going on in the background. They're not melodramatic enough to have a full choir belting out. Oh yeah, I forgot about this track. This song is rather simple. The narrator seems to be in love with someone who continually manipulates him like a hypnotist. Again, the ambiguity of love. Is it all a trick? A calculations error? And I'd show you the official video, except some of my viewers are epileptics and... just press your face against some police lights. You'll get the idea. Space Bird. This song is about summertime. And existentialism. It puts me to sleep next. You know, for me, the whole album revolves around this track. And it's barely 3.5 minutes long, one of the shortest. You know those songs that just make you stop and fucking listen? This is one of those songs. It asks such a simple question, do you realize? It's almost too simple. Yes, it is a simple question, but it's poignant. So poignant, the title has 2 question marks. 2 question marks.
That everyone you know someday will die.
And it really comes off as one of the happiest, saddest songs ever written. You know, if I died, which I won't because I am indestructible, but if I died, I'd want this to be played at the funeral. It's like an answer to all the skepticism about death addressed in the previous tracks. What is death? It doesn't matter, this song says. Just enjoy what you've got while you can. The universe is so big that it's not worth worrying about every dark part. Just focus on the good parts. It's like you're a child and Wayne Coyne sits at the edge of your bed and pats you on your head with those giant hands of his and says, "It's okay, lemon giraffe jelly. It's okay." Perhaps that's why some people don't like the song. Back in the day, those distinguished connoisseurs at Pitchfork said the song ascends into supreme levels of cheese with not 1 but 2 key changes midway through, becoming a near parody of the genuine emotional weight that carried the Stop Bulletin. So, Pitchfork says the song is cheesy and dumb, but I think it's good. Who do I trust? A pretentious asshole with a blog? Or some other pretentious asshole with a blog?
Do you
You know what? I'll agree that this song is cheesy and simple-minded, but it works. Look at the French film The Red Balloon. It's cheesy, simple, and short, and yet it's one of the greatest movies ever made with such a universal appeal and understanding. It doesn't even need subtitles. Even if you don't comprehend the lyrics of Do You Realize with 2 question marks, you can at least grasp the emotional weight thrust by the music. Case closed. Next track.
as logic stands you go?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm still thinking about Do You Realize? And that exemplifies the problem with this album. It came off the heels of a much more warmly regarded record. People couldn't appreciate Yoshimi because they were still wrapped up in the Stop Bulletin. And it doesn't really help the track All We Have Is Now that it feels like a repeated theme of Do You Realize? Which is unfair because if your major beef with Do You Realize was its lack of complexity, then this should be the song for you. A time traveler from an alternate dimension travels through time and space to inform humanity that their civilization is doomed, so they better enjoy what time they've got left. So yes, after nearly half the album, the science-y fiction-y themes return. So it's the narrator from another dimension that's free of doomsday. What is this? Comic books are for nerds. But songs about magical balloon flights and alien planets, those are for cool people. This is the final track, Approaching Pavanis Mons by Balloon, Utopia Planetia. It's an instrumental track that features several effects that appeared throughout the album. Well, it's a good tune to end on. So good, in fact, that the song won a Grammy for Best Rock Instrumental Performance. Ooh, a Grammy. Now, as I mentioned before, this album was not received well by Flaming Lips fans. Flaming Lips fans have a name. I'm gonna call them Ellipses. Now, this is all 10 years ago. Since then, Yoshimi Battles Pink Robots has become a beloved classic. Not only has the album become one of their highest selling, it constantly appears on various Best Albums Ever lists. Do You Realize was even voted as the official state rock song of Oklahoma in 2009. Take that, other Oklahoma-based rock bands. Take that, Kings of Leon. The album even spawned a musical that'll premiere at La Jolla Playhouse later this year. And if there's anything the Flaming Lips know, it's theatrics. So if you like the Flaming Lips, if you consider yourself an Ellipses, then check out their film, Christmas on Mars. And also check out the documentary, Fearless Freaks. And if you don't like the Flaming Lips, then I applaud you for getting this far into this video. You obviously have nothing better to do. And that's the story of this decade-old groundbreaking soundtrack from another world. If you can, check out the vinyl. The quality is just divine. And remember, if you're normal or average, then that just means you're not living hard enough. Beam me up. Comic books are for nerds.
Hey, I found these in the attic. Are they yours?
Oh, hey, you found my rolling papers.
You know, I've never been a big fan of alternative music, but these guys rock the house.
Yeah, it was cool to see them in a small club like this, huh?
Yeah.